Welcome back, Super Friends. What's the hubbub? Superman is surpassing Man of Steel's domestic box office earnings. In perspective, it took about 3 months for Man of Steel to reach a little over $670 million. Superman has made $502 million in just 16 days. The markets are very different, of course. Man of Steel did have lower ticket costs, but it benefited from 60% more theaters and 2 months longer in theater run to sell tickets. I wanted to revisit the break-even discussion again, as I saw Aaron Fischer give his estimate recently on a video he called Let's Be Real, and it was more like watching Let's Be Wrong.
It says they said it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. That it couldn't be done. But Superman has passed 500 million worldwide and now sits at 502.7 million. The film's budget was $225 million. Okay? Plus, they're claiming that their marketing budget was $125 million. We know it's higher than that on both the budget and the marketing, but we're going to take them at what they're claiming here. Okay? It's a fact that a movie has to make 2.5 times its budget before the studio needs to make a profit. So if you take $225 million and you times it times 2, that's $450 million. Okay? Plus you got to take the marketing budget, so you've got 450, and then you'd have to add on to that. We're just going to times it times 2, but it would actually be 2.5. But 225 and 225 is 450. And if you take 125 and you double it, that's another 250,000 or 250 million. So you add that on to the 450 million and you're at $700 million. But you really have to go 0.5 above that. So I'm just rounding this out. It's really closer to 800 million that they would need to make. But let's say it's 750 million. That is before they even make a profit.
I've never seen anyone apply a multiple to the marketing and then a multiple separately on production and then add them as a break even. Usually sites reporting movie estimation drop a break even, that's 2.5x the production budget, and that's it. So if you search the web on Superman, you'll see 562.5 as its break even on multiple sites. That is from production budget multiplied by 2.5. You can search other movies too, and if knowing the production budget, you'll see reported break-evens worked out as the 2.5 multiple of the production budget reported. Marketing is generally not included in a 2.5 multiple, as revenue is accounted later from post-theatrical via digital and licensing to cover that. John Campea did state the method when he worked with AMC that was commonly used.
Superman, on its 16th day in theaters, has crossed the $500 million mark. It is now sitting at $502 million, rapidly approaching what I, for a couple of years, said would be optimistic box office numbers, which would be somewhere between 600 and 700 million. So it's closing in on that. And I thought that would be optimistic. What's even more important, as we step into the Campea classroom, is the notion of, does this movie make money? I've had some doubts. Like, I thought it was possible it could become profitable, but I've had my doubts that it could even break even. And I've said for 2 years, it doesn't really matter if it makes money or not, because they're looking at this long term. Does this movie come out and win the audience over so that the future DCU can continue to grow and make money? And that's the important thing. But a lot of people didn't believe it could break even. There are two different trains of thought out there when it comes to what is the formula for figuring out what a break-even point is for any movie. The real answer is that every film is different. There's no exact formula, but there are general principles. The one commonly accepted one is the idea of production cost times 2.5. In this case, production cost is 220 million. So multiply that by 2.5 and you get the above answer at 550 million is the break-even point for this movie. Now, that is not, I believe, the most accurate formula. The formula I believe is the most accurate, and this is what I learned in my days working at AMC theaters with the actual exhibitor who would often talk about this stuff. It's not far off, but here's the basic gist. The formula I always do is production plus marketing multiplied by 1.5. That's the formula that I believe is the more accurate. Production cost plus marketing, multiply that total by 1.5. In the case of Superman, we're talking about 220 million plus, we've talked about a lot of different what the marketing numbers could be. Some people go as low as about 90 million. Some people go as high as 200 million. What I've recently been told is that the actual production or marketing cost for Superman was right around $150 million, which is ridiculously expensive. I thought it might have been more, but they're telling me that's what it is. Okay, so we'll go with 150 million. So it would be that added together, which of course would equal $370 million. So you multiply that by 1.5, and forgive me as I pull out my calculator to do the things, but 370 million multiplied by 1.5 equals a very different $555 million break-even point.
That's okay.
So whichever formula you use, whether you use the one most people do, which is the P times 2.5, or whether you use what I believe is a slightly more accurate one, which is P plus M multiplied by 1.5, generally the consensus now is that Superman needs to make around 550 to 555. Let's go even more expensive. Let's say 570 for argument's sake on the top end. It now looks like Superman is going to be profitable. I've said for a long time it doesn't even need to be, as long as it's a great movie and is good and wins the audience over, which it did. But it looks like it's still going to cross that threshold anyway, and maybe get up to what I thought was the optimistic number of $600 to $700 million. Anyway, Rob, 16 days in theater, Superman does cross the $500 million mark. It looks like it's closing in on the actual profitability thing, something I doubted.
Was basically production plus marketing at a 1.5x multiple. Essentially, the math works out the same, though. Superman has also had a larger opening than Fantastic Four. I'll be honest, that surprised me.
But what's your takeaway from this?
Well, I would like to add, I think your math is sound. I think somebody tweeted out, because there's still this online war between factions of people talking about whether or not James Gunn's, the Snyder Bros are talking about what are we called? Gun crazies, whatever it is we're called. And like there's two, but somebody pointed out, this guy, Entertainment Biz, posted an interesting article back from June 2013. And here's the article. Man of Steel almost recoups its budget before it's even released. And it makes the point that commercial deals for Man of Steel mean that it's already made $170 million. Something no one is talking about. I worked on this for Warner Brothers with Superman Returns. They make, whenever you see like any product, you go to Dairy Queen right now, Superman's all over it. Those companies pay the studio to do a co-branding deal with the movie. I'm willing to bet that Superman, those co-branding deals, has brought in, if not 100 million, like this article said, 170 million, maybe $200 million.
Or more. Yeah.
Or more to the studio. These are co-branding. This is profit that nobody's talking about.
No Snyderverse, no problem. But is there a problem with genre? The news isn't that Superman is an epic runaway hit, but it's also not a disaster. It's competing well with current-day contemporaries. I'm hoping we see both Superman and F4 do well, as we need a stronger upward trend for superhero movies. That helps DC and Marvel in the long run.
So the studio has unbelievable amounts of these marketing tie-ins that is bringing in the money that we don't even realize. So there's all these people talking about whether it's going to be profitable or not. Well, I point you to that Yahoo article from the date I said that showed that Man of Steel had 170 million. Let's just go by that number. Let's add 170 million to the grosses of James Gunn's Superman now and say, and by the way, those aren't split with theaters. Mm-hmm. those deals, that money goes right to the studio.
Right.
So there is other factors that many of us armchair movie box office prognosticators are not aware of. And I think for a movie like Superman, just wander around a mall or wander around whatever. Out, you go down to Riverside Redlands where I live. You can go into half the stores there and see Superman branding deals.
To have a stronger superhero genre functioning. Although I have questions about the genre itself, it's a shame that a Minecraft is going to outpace both Superman and F4. That said, it's not a flop in today's market. Also, let me be clear and say, Man of Steel wasn't a flop either. I know some channels have made a full-fledged head-to-head battle out of it. Cooler heads need to prevail. I saw someone say, Superman is like Man of Steel, a good foundation for a new verse that wasn't a blockbuster but wasn't a flop. Clearly, the next Superman movie needs dinosaurs, but let's take away the positive that it's not flopped in today's market for the genre. In the end, we will see how both Superman and F4 perform in their full run. They need to give momentum to next movies. I think Marvel still has the ace up their sleeve in Avengers movies. For the DCU, I do like the Supergirl story basis, but I also wonder if it's the best choice for a follow-up. Should they have just planned their DCU standalone Batman film as a safer bet? I saw a viewer comment that women-led superhero movies still aren't landing easily. I hope to see the DCU successful. It's our Obi-Wan verse for DC films.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Basically, it is our only hope. If it fails, they won't bring back Snyderverse, but even worse, they won't bring back anyone. I almost wonder if the way to ramp the superhero trend back up may require some Marvel and DC
I know Taekwondo.
crossover announcement in the future. A lot of licensing legalities to work out, but it could take something that big to invest fans fully in genre again. I want to see the genre regularly hitting 900 million to over $1 billion in movies. Hopefully, the DCU build out and Marvel continue on the right track. At least we are seeing some better numbers after the Brave, New World, and Thunderbolts flops from Marvel, which I never thought I'd see Marvel hit so low. Yet always look up, not back. Let's see the genre take full flight again.